Greetings from the product team at Jama Software. We are pleased to bring you the latest enhancements to Jama Connect with the 8.61 cloud release. This release brings many new, exciting capabilities based on valued customer feedback. Let's get started with the Review Center enhancements. When you come to the Review Center and start a review, pick a data set and select it. You now have different options you can select. It could be a challenge to some users who are trying to make sure the right options are selected, especially for those who are searching for approvals. What has changed is that if you go into the administration area for reviews, you can see all of these options are now included, and you can set these as defaults, which gives you more control, especially over time tracking and signatures, things that most users care a lot about. New templates were also added. Now you can have a template. You can set the different options to be specific to your needs. Once you have done that and hit save, go back out to reviews and create a new review. Select the same content here. You can now see that this is an approval review, and all of the settings are preset, and you cannot adjust them. Or if it is a peer review, there will be defaults set. You can make adjustments to them. The key point here is that for an approval review, everything will be set into place and controlled. The next part that has changed is about the workflow. Previously, there really wasn't an integration with the workflow. Now you have this option to enable workflow transition, triggered by a finalized approval review. You can come in and click this, and when you finalize a review, it will be approved and be locked. This is going to be that state when you close out a review. If you now select the stakeholders, you'll go next, and that's an approval review. You don't have to make any decisions. You can invite yourself here and initiate the review. So now once you have a review, it's showing that you're a moderator. You can come in and finalize and approve for a review. Now the system shows what workflow transition will happen and any stakeholder requirements. Let's highlight the different workflows that will be applied and then lock it. Review is closed. If you now go back to your project and grab an item, you can see it's approved and it's locked. Another new capability offered is the federated admin. It's essentially the delegation of administrative tasks. New roles for administration were added here at the top level. You can be a user administrator, a process administrator, or add project, which is a specific option where you are able to add or copy projects that you are a project admin for. In our setup here, a couple of users were added that have different options. If you swap over, this is someone that has user administration role. You can see they have a smaller set of options available. You can limit the projects for a project administrator, which limits the access they have to the overall groups and users. The user groups are going to be limited to only those groups and projects, and the project user groups that they have access to. They will have access to all users, but then they will be limited to only those projects where they are a project administrator. Now let's look at the process administrator. It's similar in that this user is restricted to only have options specific to process administration, such as item types, pick lists, things that a company uses to manage and how they manage their data and connect. There are no user options in here. They can be combined if you want, but this is just for the options. Again, if you want to apply something to specific projects, you need to have project administrator rights for those. The other role here is the Add project. This is something that's been requested by many customers. It's essentially the ability for an administrator to give specific users options to add new projects. So again, none of the organization rights, but here within the projects, as you can see, this one has just a short list. This is where you are a project administrator, and the main difference now is that you're just a project administrator for these areas. But you now have the ability to add or duplicate a project. So these are the new options that are available for that role. If you look at the permissions and find that Steve project here has this role, Add project, and then if you looked at the frameworks, Steve project has a project administrator rights for this role. Next, let's look at the new multi-mode authentication feature. For our cloud customers, enabling this feature will need to be done through system administration that's not accessible to users. Please contact Jama support for details. Here you can see the feature has been enabled, and it's going to allow us to use our SSO. For the example here, it's Okta to log in, and that's going to be the default for most users. But if you are in the situation where you have a vendor or a contractor whom you want to give access to, you can now add them in as the basic auth. So here you can see log in as SSO and go through Okta, and now you have signed in. If you come into the administration area now, and you go into your users, you will be able to see that you have a new administration type where you indicate IDP, or you've added this user. Steve Basic, that has basic auth. If you look at the edit, there's this new option here for basic authentication for this user. If by default SAML is enabled, it's going to be SAML. But if you choose to add users on this option, you can then click the basic auth, and that person will then have to go through and do passwords and all those setup. And now if you log out, you can log in here as Steve Basic and sign in, and you are in here as a different user. This person doesn't actually have access to any projects, but that basically means that they can log in that way. Now you can log in users from both options, with the SSO or with the basic auth, and the administrators will be able to control that access. Based on customer feedback, a new option has been added so that you now have the ability to make edits to cycle names without creating new test runs. Previously, if you were to edit the test cycle, it would create all brand new test runs. Now you can go in and just edit the details, make a change. And after you save it, there will be no updates to those test runs. We hope you find value in these new Jama Connect features. To learn more, visit the 8.61 release notes area in the Jama community.